Hello everyone and welcome to another Vision 2.8 tutorial. Today we're going over the Rodecaster Pro II, a pretty standard piece of kit for us when we're producing podcasts, whether it be our own for other people. And it is also available under certain tiers of renting out our studio space. So we want to go over the basics of what you can do with this and what different tools do. So let's get started. The reason that you would use a Rodecaster is that it's really good at leveling the audio for multiple mic inputs, whether you have a microphone that is more or less sensitive or a talent in front of the camera that is a little bit more exuberant or a little bit soft-spoken, and you want to make sure that they're both heard in the podcast or video that you're working in. So the way you do that is through the faders. You can see here that we have all of these down here and all of our little dials. This is the cool part of video production. Currently, since this is a one microphone setup, we only have one fader. You'll see that these ones here are lit up red. That's because I have muted them using these buttons down here. The green button solos a mic. So now that I've pressed this one, you can see that it lights up green. And if I had multiple microphones, only this microphone would be audible right now. And you can tell that if I mute it like this, and you couldn't hear a word of that. The fader here is important. The higher it goes, the louder my voice becomes, and the lower it goes, the quieter my voice becomes. You're going to want to make sure that you can see visually that these waveforms, these bars up here, will be hitting around the same level when you have multiple people speaking into a microphone, and also that you're not peaking and you're not too quiet. Just that way you have the auditory signals that your audio is correct. You also have the visual ones that just help us dial in a little bit closer. Now, up here, we have a different set of dials. These are for your headphones. And so you won't be able to hear this, but I will. If I rotate it like this, my headphones become a little bit louder and I can hear some of the more subtleties in the voice. As it stands right now, it's blowing my ears out. And then I can bring it down here, and then I no longer hear my voice in my ears. If you are running a podcast, it's really helpful if someone else is managing leveling the audio and all of the behind-the-scenes stuff. If you're doing a camera podcast with visuals, having someone who's making sure your cameras are running and everything looks okay and no batteries die, that's also really useful. Something that we offer here at Vision 2.8, which is really fun. I like doing it. Before we move on to the rest of the Rodecaster's capabilities, you'll notice here that the faders look a little bit blank. If you're used to looking at the meters when you're doing video editing, you'll notice that we're missing a lot of information here. You can go into Display, Metering, and you'll realize that we were on default, and you can go to Broadcast. If we go back to Home, you can see exactly where your audio is lying. You'll notice that I haven't touched on these buttons over here. These are your soundboard buttons. They're magical. They're wonderful. We don't use them for a lot of our podcasts. That's mostly because the style of the podcasts we help produce are slightly different. And for a lot of these sound effects, we just add them in post instead of during the production. However, if you are doing a live stream, these sound effects might be useful. You can pause the music by pressing the button again, which might be useful for things like music beds. You can also do voice effects like
small robot, I am now a robot. There is also a large robot.
Megaphone.
And voice disguise.
So all of these things help to add effects, stuff to you, either you're live streaming or you're podcasting. Now that we've talked about all of the buttons, let's talk about some of the stuff that's going on here. In order to record the podcast, it requires a micro SD to store all of the audio files. Once you're done with the recording, it mixes all of the audio channels together. And so you have a mixed version, and then it also has an audio track for each microphone and for your sound effects. In order to monitor your audio, you're going to need headphones. Any headphones will work. I recommend studio headphones because they don't have a lot of post-processing in the headphones that might mess with your audio mix. Of the four little plugins right here, only two of them are able to plug in your classic headphones. that you might be able to get at your local Walmart, and you require an adapter like so in order to use them. If you have fancy smancy audio engineering headphones, they will often have plugins that will just plug into a system like this. For the microphone, they plug in with an XLR cable, pretty standard, and the Rodecaster primarily uses 4 XLR cable microphones. They also have an option for like a Bluetooth or a USB-C plug-in in order to get an audio from a microphone. So realistically, 4 people, 1 microphone per person for using the Rodecaster, but you might be able to finagle it to use more. Now, very important, in order to record, you hit the big green record button. Since I am currently recording the audio for this video, the recording button will be red, which you will be able to see both here and here. Pressing the recording button once will pause the recording. Pressing and holding will stop the recording altogether. And in order to find them in the files, when you are uploading the files to your computer, they are stored under the date that you recorded the audio on. And our Rodecaster is set to the correct time and date, which means it will be accurate to whenever you recorded your podcast or your live stream. If you need more in-depth information, you can scan the QR code on the Rodecaster, which is a really nice way to get the user's manual. Those are the basics to running the Rodecaster Pro II. If you enjoyed this video, you can watch more tutorials and product reviews here to learn more about the equipment we use and our opinions on it. And thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you again soon. Bye. Okay, that's not horrible.